The railroad has to go through the Sweetwater Ranch, that's the way it is. Once Upon a Time in the West wasn't just a Western. It was Sergio Leone's operatic requiem for the entire genre. Audiences saw breathtaking panoramas, legendary actors, and haunting music. What they didn't see was the chaos. Brutal clashes with Paramount executives, scenes recut against Leone's wishes, actors battling the desert sun, and a production haunted by near collapse. Today we're pulling back the curtain on 20 weird facts about Once Upon a Time in the West, from Henry Fonda's shocking transformation to Ennio Morricone's eerie pre-recorded score. And just wait until the bonus fact, a hidden detail that may forever change how you watch the film. Stay tuned. Let's dive in. Henry Fonda's Eyes of Evil. When Leone cast Henry Fonda as Frank, people were stunned. Fonda was America's cinematic everyman, the honest juror in 12 Angry Men. Leone demanded the opposite, a cold-blooded killer. Fonda arrived on set clean-shaven with his familiar blue eyes shining. Leone was furious. He told Fonda to grow a mustache, dye his beard, and, most crucially, remove his contact lenses so audiences would see those piercing baby blues commit murder. The result? In the opening massacre, when Fonda shoots a child point blank, Leone deliberately zooms in on Fonda's eyes. That moment shattered decades of Hollywood typecasting. It wasn't just Frank killing the boy. It was Henry Fonda himself, America's most trusted face, turned into something terrifying. Claudia Cardinale. Nearly collapsed on set. Cardinale was at the height of her career, but Leone's grueling shoot in Monument Valley nearly broke her. Production days stretched beyond 12 hours under brutal desert heat. Leone insisted on retakes, sometimes more than 20 for a single shot. Cardinale later admitted she was so dehydrated and exhausted that she nearly fainted while filming Jill's first arrival at Sweetwater. Leone, obsessed with visual perfection, refused to alter his process. Crew members whispered that Cardinale's suffering was real enough to seep into her performance. Jill's weary expressions weren't just acting, they were survival. Charles Bronson wasn't Leone's first choice. Leone wanted Clint Eastwood back for Harmonica. Eastwood refused, tired of typecasting under Leone's operatic westerns. Leone turned to James Coburn and even approached Rock Hudson, but neither committed. Finally, he chose Charles Bronson, an actor Eastwood once called the toughest guy in Hollywood. Bronson's granite face and silence became central to the film's mythic tone. Leone later claimed Bronson gave him something Eastwood never could, a haunted stillness that made Harmonica feel less like a man and more like a ghost. What audiences didn't know was that Bronson himself almost walked away, furious over the chaotic scheduling and Paramount's interference. The opening shootout was originally even longer. The iconic opening scene, 3 gunmen waiting at a train station, is over 10 minutes long, almost wordless, filled only with creaking windmills, buzzing flies, and dripping water. But Leone originally planned it to last nearly 20 minutes. He wanted audiences to feel the agony of waiting. Paramount executives panicked, claiming American audiences would walk out. They forced Leone to trim it, though he managed to keep the unbearable silences intact. The result is still one of the most radical openings in Western history, a slow-burn explosion that redefined pacing in cinema. Ennio Morricone composed the score before filming. Usually, composers score films after shooting, not Morricone. Leone insisted he write the music first. Each character received their own theme, Harmonica's haunting notes, Jill's sweeping romantic melody, Frank's ominous march, and Cheyenne's playful rhythm. Leone played these tracks on set through loudspeakers while filming. Actors performed with the music already guiding their rhythm and emotion. Claudia Cardinale later said, "This changed her entire performance. She wasn't just acting, she was moving inside Morricone's music." The pre-recorded score gave the film its operatic quality, merging sound and image in a way Hollywood had never attempted before. Jason Robards nearly lost the role of Cheyenne. Jason Robards' outlaw. Cheyenne became one of the film's most beloved characters, but behind the scenes, his role nearly vanished. Robards was notorious for drinking heavily during production, sometimes showing up on set visibly hungover. Leone reportedly threatened to fire him multiple times. At one point, Paramount executives suggested replacing him entirely, but Leone defended Robards fiercely, claiming no one else could capture Cheyenne's mix of menace and warmth. The gamble paid off. Robards' ragged charisma gave the film its soul. Still, crew members whispered that half of Cheyenne's weary look came from Robards' real-life exhaustion. Leone later admitted his drinking gave him the right eyes. Monument Valley was a deliberate homage to John Ford. Leone insisted on filming in Monument Valley, the sacred landscape of John Ford's classic westerns. He wanted to confront American mythology on its own ground. Ford had turned the desert into Hollywood's frontier dreamland. Leone sought to dismantle that dream, showing it as harsh, empty, and cruel. Shooting there was brutal. Unpredictable winds coated cameras in sand, and equipment overheated constantly. But Leone endured it for the symbolism. In one sweeping shot of Claudia Cardinale's Jill walking through Sweetwater, the valley looms in the background, turning Ford's America into Leone's Requiem. It wasn't homage, it was burial. Paramount butchered the American release. Leone delivered a 165-minute cut. Paramount panicked, convinced U.S. audiences wouldn't sit through such an operatic western. They slashed the film down to 145 minutes for American theaters. Key scenes were butchered, entire character introductions vanished, and the story's mythic rhythm was destroyed. Critics at the time dismissed the film as confusing and pretentious. Only in Europe, where the full version played, did the movie receive the acclaim it deserved. Years later, when the director's cut was restored, American audiences finally saw Leone's true vision. The difference? A masterpiece, not a muddle. Leone wanted Sergio Donati to save the script. The screenplay was credited to Leone, Bernardo Bertolucci, and Dario Argento. Yes, the future Italian horror master. But their original draft sprawled out of control, mixing political philosophy with operatic imagery. Leone grew frustrated. He called in screenwriter Sergio Donati to rewrite entire sections. Donati streamlined the script, clarified character arcs, and preserved the mythic tone without drowning in excess. Ironically, while Bertolucci and Argento's names stayed on the credits, Donati's didn't. Leone later admitted Donati was the one who gave the story its bones. What audiences see today is as much Donati's film as anyone's. The Harmonica reveal. Almost never happened. One of the film's most powerful moments is Harmonica's backstory, the flashback showing a young Bronson forced to support his brother as Frank slips a noose around the boy's neck. It's the key to Harmonica's vengeance. But Paramount executives begged Leone to cut it, arguing American audiences wouldn't tolerate such slow, dreamlike storytelling. Leone refused. He claimed the entire film existed for that one reveal. If he had caved, Harmonica's ghostly presence would have lost its power. The sequence stayed, and it remains one of the most haunting moments in cinema. And before we continue, go ahead and like and subscribe, because the next 10 facts get even stranger. We're talking accidents on set, shocking feuds, and a secret cameo most fans never spotted. The train station set was built in the middle of nowhere. Leone wanted total control over his landscapes, so instead of finding an existing train station, he had one built in the middle of the Spanish desert. The location was so remote that crew members had to haul in lumber, steel, and even water by truck. The result looked authentic, but created logistical nightmares, transportation delays, overheating equipment, and food shortages for the cast and crew. Extras reportedly fainted during long days under the blistering sun. But Leone insisted the suffering was worth it. When the first train screeched into frame, audiences believed it had been there forever, not an illusion, but a fully lived-in world. Leone's battle with the actors' accents. The cast came from all over. Claudia Cardinale was Italian-Tunisian, Jason Robards American, Charles Bronson Lithuanian-American, Henry Fonda pure Midwestern. Filming was done with no synced sound, a common spaghetti Western tactic. Actors spoke in their native tongues, often improvising. Later, voices were dubbed in post-production. The result caused chaos. Cardinale's heavily accented English was redubbed to her frustration, stripping away part of her performance. Leone argued it was necessary for clarity, but some fans still insist Cardinale's real voice would have given Jill more emotional fire. What audiences didn't know was that the film was stitched together from a chorus of mismatched languages. A real fight erupted behind the camera. During one grueling day of shooting, tensions between Leone and cinematographer Tonino Delle Colli boiled over. Leone demanded one more retake of a dusk sequence, but Colli insisted the light was gone. The argument escalated into a shouting match that halted production for nearly an hour. Crew members recalled Leone storming off, muttering that cinema waits for no sun. Despite clashes, their collaboration created some of the most iconic imagery in film history. Dust swirling in golden light, close-ups so intimate they felt like portraits. Conflict wasn't a setback, it was part of the alchemy. The fly on Jack Elam's face was real. In the opening sequence, Jack Elam sits waiting, sweat dripping as a fly crawls across his face. Audiences assumed it was staged. It wasn't. Leone's crew simply released flies near Elam and let nature do the rest. The actor's refusal to flinch gave the moment its tension. Leone loved it so much he extended the shot, allowing the insect to become an unlikely co-star. Later, Elam joked that the fly delivered the best performance of the whole film. What could have been a nuisance instead became one of the most memorable unscripted details in cinema history. Claudia Cardinale's entrance was a nightmare to film. Jill's arrival in Flagstone is one of the film's most breathtaking moments, a sweeping crane shot revealing the bustling town. But filming it was nearly impossible. Leone wanted hundreds of extras, dozens of horses, carriages, and a full band all moving in sync while the camera descended smoothly. It took multiple days and endless retakes. Dust storms repeatedly ruined the shot, covering the lens and choking the actors. Cardinale confessed she felt overwhelmed, barely able to stay in character amid the chaos. Yet the final result remains a triumph of choreography, a moment that turned Leone's Western into pure opera. The shootout at Sweetwater was a dust storm disaster. The climactic gunfight between Frank and Harmonica looks balletic on screen, but filming it nearly broke the crew. Monument Valley's winds whipped up blinding dust storms during the duel's shoot, coating Bronson and Fonda in grit. Cameras jammed constantly, and visibility dropped so low that Leone had to halt filming for hours. The crew wore goggles while the actors fought through real stinging sand. Leone insisted. The natural chaos gave the final sequence its otherworldly quality, the dust curling around the duelists like smoke from hell. For audiences, it looked carefully staged. In reality, it was a battle against the desert itself. Sergio Leone wanted Eastwood, Wallach, and Van Cleef cameos. Leone originally dreamed of bringing back the good, the bad, and the ugly trio for the opening scene. Clint Eastwood, Eli Wallach, and Lee Van Cleef would have been the three gunmen waiting at the station. When Eastwood turned him down, Leone scrapped the idea. Instead, he cast Jack Elam, Woody Strode, and Al Mulock. Mulock's involvement carried a tragic note. He committed suicide during production, jumping from his hotel room still wearing his Western costume. Leone's plan for a spaghetti Western reunion turned into something darker, a prologue haunted by both nostalgia and loss. The film flopped in America, but became a cult legend. When Once Upon a Time in the West hit U.S. theaters in 1969, it bombed. Critics dismissed it as overindulgent, and audiences found its pace unbearable. But in Europe, the film soared, particularly in France, where it played for years in repertory theaters. Slowly, its reputation grew. Directors like Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese later hailed it as a masterpiece, citing its operatic scope and bold reinvention of the Western. What started as a failure became one of the most celebrated films in cinema history, proof that sometimes a movie must die in one culture to be reborn in another. Bonus fact: a hidden tribute to Eisenstein Leone secretly embedded a homage to Soviet filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein in the film's editing. In the final duel, when Frank and Harmonica circle each other, Leone uses Eisenstein's intellectual montage technique, flashing rapid images of faces, landscapes, and memories to build symbolic meaning. Most audiences missed it, but scholars later uncovered Leone's deliberate tribute to Eisenstein's battleship Potemkin. Leone wasn't just ending the Western. He was connecting his film to the global language of cinema itself. Once you see it, you realize the duel isn't just about revenge, it's about film history staring back at you. Once Upon a Time in the West wasn't just another Western. It was Sergio Leone's Requiem, a sprawling cinematic hymn built from suffering, invention, and vision. From Fonda's shocking transformation to Cardinale's exhaustion, from Paramount's sabotage to Morricone's ghostly score, the film was chaos forged into myth. Today it stands not as a relic, but as a living lesson in how cinema transcends genre.